to approve specific project fund agreement with Marshfield Area Community Foundation for Aquatic Center project presented by Justin Casperson, Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. This is an agreement with the Marshfield Area Community Foundation. We've partnered with the Community Foundation on many projects. The most recent is the Wenzel Family Plaza. We also have one currently in existence for the Cougar Exhibit and Welcome Center. This would be for the pool project and our challenge grant of $3 million each, but this is a funding mechanism that's used quite regularly for our community, and they're very used to and accustomed to giving donations to the foundation. Amber is here in the audience. Before I turn it back to the council, I'd like to recognize that Amber is leaving us, unfortunately. She does have a replacement, so I wanted to thank Amber, all of her work and dedication to our community over the last umpteen years. Thank you, Amber, for all of your work in the community.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve by Mr. Butke, second by Mr. Fire? Any discussion? Mr. Witzel.
Thank you. I am slightly concerned by the statement here of less than 3.5 million, but more than 2 million, the project will proceed on a smaller scale. That concerns me because I would hate to see what we have as a very good project be scaled down. That wording does concern me to some degree.
So that's, for the most part, a backup plan in case there is failure to raise those monies. I think it was a learning curve when we did the library project and we didn't reach the goals that we had set aside. We didn't have any language in that agreement. This body would be the deciding factor on what to do with those funds. So
I guess I would, and I'm sure Mr. Jockheck would echo my sentiment, that I would hope that the council would come forth with what was necessary to make sure that that project was seen through to its fullest planned potential at this point.
Mr. McSwain?
Yeah, that was also one of my concerns, that there'd be any kind of a limitation on this. It was one of my concerns when we first brought this up, that we didn't start setting aside money for this project. And I'm wondering, I was concerned about our obligation when we first initiated this. And I was told that there were no donations that were going to be set until like they were all set. But is it, am I reading, I'm interpreting this to think that there's things that are coming in already or are expected to come in already before, and other than just like pledges. Is that accurate or?
kind of. Have we had conversations with individuals who might be interested in the project and giving money? Yes. Have they given us a check or wrote any money out? No. But we have strategically talked to individuals who have expressed interest in giving to the project. We have not formally said, hey, would you want to give me X amount of dollars? That has not happened.
But there are like fundraisers or something planned? Is this?
Nothing's planned. We have a committee that's forming and starting to figure out. We're not going to do like a fundraiser. We'll first talk to individuals who are interested in the project to get the large donations out of the way first.
Okay, because again, the same concern Mr. Witzel had, that this is not, that this thing needs to be done right. Mm-hmm. And it's, I mean, the whole idea that this is, people talk about how long it's taken to try to get it. I just don't buy that, because until you start setting money aside for something, you haven't really been trying to get it. You've just been dreaming and fantasizing, and you haven't really been trying to get it. So we need to have money set aside for it, but it's got to be done right, because it's going to be here for how many years. And the other concern that I've had is the very first thing on here, that to say that the project shall commence immediately. I don't. It seems like a restriction that's unneeded and really is not something that anybody should be telling the council to do. Can you explain that?
Sure, go ahead.
This language is here to protect the donors, not to protect the council. If it starts immediately, that means that the foundation has to have a vehicle in place and be ready to accept a gift. If Justin talks to someone and they say, I'm going to write a check today for $3 million, we need to be ready immediately to accept that and have a fund in place and an agreement in place. We can't accept any money until this agreement is signed. And the part that says 3.5 million, but not more than 2 million, the project will be scaled back. Of course, we all want this project to succeed, but we have to protect the donor. We can't return a check and say, whoops, we're not going to be able to build what we had originally envisioned. So when our people are out there talking, Justin, to raise money, they have to tell them, this is what we want to do, but if we don't reach our goal, we're going to have to do something smaller, so everyone's on the same page. Once a gift is given, the IRS says it cannot be returned because they've got a tax donation for it. So those are some of the reasons behind this language.
Okay, so then that first line, when it talks about project, it refers to the fundraising, not the construction.
No, it refers to the Marshfield Aquatic Center. The project to us starts with a fundraising phase. It has dates in here that say the fundraising is going to begin immediately, construction, pledges will go out. We have date ranges so we know what's going to be happening, because we also reimburse the city for things, their expenses with our past projects. So we need to know what mode we're going to be in at all times. They overlap. They may be fundraising, construction may be starting, and pledges are going to go out, in many cases, at least 3 to 5 years. But if that last pledge doesn't happen until the end of fundraising, it could be 7 years from now till we see that last payment. So it's very intensive. The auditors, the bookkeepers, to keep all of this straight. So that's why a lot of this language is in here.
Okay, so checks, in other words, are going to be coming in before it's go time,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes. That is the way all of these other projects have been done. That's the way, I could go through the whole list. The athletic facility, Wenzel Plaza, the library, the community center, Wildwood Plaza was our first project, or Wildwood Pavilion was the first project we did this way for the city. The bear exhibit recently, the cougar that's going on.
Mr. Jokic,
I guess I'm going back to that same point that Alderman Witzel brought up.
can you turn your mic on?
Is that on?
I think so.
Okay, I guess I just need, to go back to the comment Alderman Witzel started with, are we tying ourselves by saying the project will proceed on a smaller scale versus some other language that, I mean, we would hope that if, that the council may come back and say, okay, well, we're short $500,000, we weren't expecting that, but we will contribute to that. The language there sort of scares me if I'm thinking about giving, and if it's going short, then maybe I'm not going to if I can't have my money back, and they're going to have to, you know, somehow make this smaller. You know, I just, or is this standard boilerplate?
The deciding factor, the body or the group or individuals that would have to decide that scale or what that project is still the city.
Mm-hmm.
So like the board of directors wouldn't, for the foundation, wouldn't decide what to do with that money. They would rely on staff and the council to help make that decision. That's just a backup plan. So if donors want to give money, they want to say, well, what happens if you don't? What are the plans? What do you have in place?
Right, but it indicates,
It doesn't tie us to that. No. I think that was your question. Does it tie us to that number, or in case we fall short?
it doesn't tie, okay. I guess I was surprised to see this in here, that it would be done on a smaller scale, because we don't know that. That isn't a decision that the council has made.
No, and that's a,
You know, we're hoping to raise in excess probably of even more than what we thought, because the dollar estimate is still from 2017. But if we don't, we are not on record that we're going to have to make it smaller.
right, and that, as a donor,
That's what
you may
I'm
want some
reading.
insurance policy saying, because they don't know what the council would decide either. So if they give money, they want to at least
Right.
know if it's going towards a similar project on a smaller scale. If the council decides whatever they decide, at least it would go towards that. As a
I would
donor's
hope that there'd
perspective.
be some indication that the council, as has been stated numerous times here, that we want this to go, we want this to be a premier facility, and that we would make that decision to make up the difference if in fact we don't meet the private fundraising goal. And I'm worried that the language in here is a little different than that, but maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I don't know how we could change the language to predict the future. If we go back to the library and community center, when the fundraising for the community center portion of it, they were always fundraised together. Library got paid first, and then started the community center, and there wasn't quite enough to do everything we'd envisioned. It's a wonderful place. It was scaled back. But the council at that point in time did have the opportunity to say, okay, we'll put in extra money. But that council decided not to do that. And I don't think anyone here can speak for what future councils are going to decide. So that makes the question really hard. So we're just trying to protect the donor, that knowing what we know today, based on numbers like Justin was saying from 2017, maybe it's really going to be more than that 6 million, but this is our best guess for right now, so we can begin and try to make this successful.
Hal?
And I think that that language doesn't tie you. If you were to find that you were short, could you add that on? I think the council, and that's basically what's being said here. But one part of this is, because you're entering into an agreement here with respect to this, and you have donors that will be giving donations with expectations based on that language, that the one thing you couldn't do is say, well, we didn't make enough, so we're not going to do any improvement. This does obligate you to that. I mean, and I think everybody understands that. I don't think there's a question, but I want to make clear so that that is an obligation you're doing here. So if you were to fall short, you might have you would have the option to vote to decide, we're going to contribute some extra money to get it done. But you wouldn't have the opportunity to say, oh, we didn't make it, so we're going to use this for something else. This money that's given is given with this expectation, and it's given, and that contract is designed primarily to preserve the benefits that somebody gets from giving a tax deductible donation.
Mr. Fire?
I was glad to see that, that one part that says the city will agree to commit $3 million, and it doesn't say, it doesn't put an end to it. When we went to the library, there were certain funds out there, and when we hit that plateau, the council dug in and would not give you another dime. And I'm glad this won't happen on this if we're smart enough. You can't commit ourselves to the council of 2021. You can't do that. But this, an open end here says that we'll give $3 million towards the project. Doesn't mean that unless we get a hard-nosed council again that says, well, that's all you're gonna get. That's what happened to the library. We got hard-nosed on it, and some people donated to the library and some people donated to the community center. And the people that wanted something in the community center didn't get it. And so I don't want to see that happen to this project. So that's why I seconded it, because at least it's wide open. We have a chance to get who knows what. But you can't say we're going to do it, because you don't know what's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now, who the council's going to be.
Mr. Butke?
Mr. Casperson mentioned about going out looking for donors, and the button is on. And I was involved with the bear exhibit, and I don't remember what the percent is, but for projects like this, first of all, I'm going to say I believe it's going to happen, and I think people will be generous. but you always do a silent campaign first. And maybe Amber knows the percentage, I don't remember it offhand, but it's a certain percentage that you can sort of get committed before you go to the public. And if you get that, there's a darn good chance that it's going to happen. So Justin is doing the right thing as far as looking for donors and talking to them now.
Mr. Jukic.
All right, not to beat a dead horse, but going back to that, would it not be better to say that the project will proceed, but maybe on a smaller scale? But maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, I.
can take it back to the board, it will delay it another
This sort
month.
of ties us.
Do that, but this is what they approved.
Okay, that.
And the council had reviewed this before my board approved it too.
Mr. Witzel?
We can do that.
Rather than doing that and delaying this a month, let's just get this done.
That's fine.
All right, seeing no further discussion, please vote. Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you.